Welcome to the Filipino on the Rise podcast, where I spotlight Filipino women doing big things and making an impact. I'm Crystal Fabella, and I aim to promote Pinay excellence, empower our community and the world through our stories, and celebrate what it means to be a Filipina. Today, we're talking to Nikki McKenzie. Nikki was born in Manila and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Heyo.
She is a Filipina-American actress and comedian known for her comedic charisma and dramatic depth. She stars in the new rom-com The Wedding Contest on Amazon and the holiday romance A Vineyard Christmas on Peacock, Paramount Plus, and Amazon. Next up, Nikki is starring in the indie film A Fantastic Relationship and the multi-cam pilot presentation Ethel and Ernie as Ernie, a heartwarming Filipina caretaker. Nikki, I have to say, I am so excited to have you on this podcast because I was recently watching you this past Christmas, and you were kind of the inspiration for why I made a video for Instagram.
You're kidding?
Yes, for on Filipina actresses.
I love that video. So thank you for that.
Like truly, I put it on, such a Christmas movie girly. And as I was saying that, I was like, I really like her. She seems really genuine and just full of charisma. So it's great to see your name here. And there's no better feeling than like seeing an actress who is Pinay and being like, she just seems like a totally like vibrant, genuine, and uplifting person. And then getting to talk with you. It's true. Like you really
That's
are
exactly
so
how I felt about you when I heard your voice on your podcast. I was like, we would be friends. 100%. No, powerful, smart, sweet. You clearly care about the people, your mission and our community. And I think that's really inspiring.
I'm so glad that emits, right? And
it's so funny how you can tell so much by voice.
Totally.
I say that all the time. You can literally tell intention and I think genuineness by just listening to someone's voice.
Oh my gosh. I say that all the time that I'm a voice person. Some people are more visual or they can tell.
Well, you've got a great voice.
You as well. Okay. So before we dive into your background and your journey here, everyone, if you have the chance, I'm just going to toot on this film, even though it's past Christmas, because what actually captured me was the beginning scene when you're in the middle of the vineyard and you were shooting special, the host. Yeah. And there's just something I was like, I resonate with this energy. And
honestly, you're the perfect, I wish I'd known about you when we shot this 2.5 years ago now, which is crazy, but you are the perfect, you would have been my muse.
Likewise. Okay. Awesome. We'll exchange muses. But you have a new film coming up. And tell us about that. Tell us about A Fantastic Relationship.
Oh, great. So that's a fun, it's a comedy. It's kind of an anti-rom-com. Yes. So it's a break from the movies I have done, which is nice. It's basically about a couple that breaks up and then pretends to be back together at a dinner party so she can just make herself look good in front of her sister. So there's a lot of familial comedy and the dynamics of, I think, competition that sometimes comes up with sisters and family, and just kind of the ridiculousness of being in a bad relationship.
Right. All of it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Where can we watch it?
So actually we just, we're getting distribution right now. So he just sold it. So hopefully soon I'll be able to say where it's going to be streaming, but it did. I don't know. I still don't understand the logistics of it, but they're trying to get distribution, but he sold it. Somebody is shopping it right now. We have patients shopping it. So that's exciting.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. It's so funny because on my notes, I'm looking at this in the questions and I realized I put on the top every girl's dream. And I realized it's because I seeing you as a lead in these rom-coms and these Christmas movies and the love story, I'm like, this is every girl's dream. And this is as a young Filipina, if I were watching this, I would just be so inspired and empowered by this, representation. Not that everything you do is about representing being Filipina.
Sure. But it is, and it is though, right? Whether it's intentionally this character is Filipino or just looking the way that we look and having that normalized in mainstream media, I think is so important.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there weren't a lot. I mean, I feel for me, people, we had Vanessa Hudgens, but she wasn't really Filipino in a lot of her stuff.
Or didn't claim it.
Right.
Her character didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if Vanessa didn't claim it or her character didn't claim it. She's claiming it now, which is awesome. Yes. And I think she's a production company now, so she's trying to get some more, I think, opportunities for Filipinas. But there's so many. I mean, there's so many that are Filipino that haven't claimed it, right? Or not claiming it anymore. It's very strange.
Yeah, I know, for real.
Yeah,
right? Before it was your diversity was of the value and stuff. How do you feel about your own like position in this industry and like any responsibility around getting to represent proudly or not?
I feel like it's a huge responsibility that I am so honored to have to represent Filipina women, right? And I think it's just like normalizing seeing us out in the world. I think it's interesting because there aren't as many Filipino stories being told or Filipino stories being told, and I think that's starting to shift. Yeah, but there's not as many like writers or showrunners. Still, it's starting to shift for sure. But I think that's like culturally, like a lot of like millennials, I will just say like we didn't necessarily get encouraged to pursue the arts. So it's a newer thing for sure. Kind of like, and now you're seeing like, Olivia Rodrigo and so many wonderful like younger talent moving up and claiming it, which is totally awesome.
It makes me see that the entrance of stories or actors and actresses also heavily relies on people getting into like decision-making roles. Yes. The whole institution behind that.
Yes, so exactly. Like who's making decisions, who's writing the stories.
Yeah, we need it on all fronts.
It is. Yeah. And I think it's like we're getting there. And I think with like there's so many like Filipino like influencers, TikTokers, wonderful hosts. Like we're all people, moving up together. Yes. But for so long, like even when I started out in this industry, I was advised to not say my ethnicity. Right. Because like I started like really working in starting in 2010. And it was like, well, you could be any Asian, like, and it was like, no. But at the time to survive, I kind of wonder if this is why some people didn't claim like Lizzie McGuire, her best friend was Filipino. She's great.
I was just thinking about her this morning. That's so funny. Right? I loved Lily.
Me too. And it's just so interesting because it just wasn't written into the stories. And I'm sure it's like a lack mentality of wanting jobs. So you don't want to like, I'm just guessing like I'll speak from my perspective. When I started, I was like, okay, you're sending me out for like Korean and Chinese and all these other things. And I wanted to work so badly that, I didn't always like claim it. And I feel like it's more recent, like within the last like 5 years. And I'm like, no, I'm so proud to be Filipino. Not that I wasn't shying away from it before, but just at that point, you just want to work. As like the trusty sidekick or whatever like those small parts were for me at the time.
Yeah. What year again did you start acting?
2010.
Okay. So let's take it back.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got into acting. I know that you were born in the Philippines. So start from there.
Great. I was born in the Philippines. I moved here when I was 3. And so, my family, my mom comes from 6 sisters. Everyone immigrated here except for 2 of them are still in the Philippines. So I grew up like, I think like so many of our families, everyone sang at Christmas and performed karaoke and like we did plays and we were always encouraged to perform. So I'd always loved it. And then I pretty much fell into acting in high school on accident, kind of. I auditioned to be in the chorus for musical, and then I ended up getting the lead, which was really exciting. And so I made my way into acting through singing, and now I'm an actor who can kind of sing. I feel like you started out as a singer who can kind of act. So I'll always love musical theater because of that.
What's your favorite musical?
I think The Secret Garden, just because that was my first. I ended up booking Maryland Lights. That was my first. What about you? What's your favorite musical? Because you've got a great, beautiful voice.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. That's so hard. I'm like babbling. I like West Side Story.
Oh, so good. But Wicked too is also one.
Obviously. My parents had a line made as their backdrop in their wedding for West Side Story, so that's why I like it.
Which line?
A time and place for us. And they were like 22 when they got married, so it like was a symbolic about not knowing where they were going in life. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. I just got goosebumps.
And that's also we're so cheesy, right?
I know. We love love.
Truly, that's why I'm like, it's actually like you are the epitome of like all of our like favorite things like combined. And I guess like even just being the love story and like getting the
Well, yeah, and I think too it comes from like Disney princesses, right? Like Lea Salonga was, like all of her voices that she like Mulan and Jasmine and
What else should she?
For everything.
She's the main two
ones. Yeah. So I mean, but she was one of the first, I feel like, full Filipina like women actors that I really knew about.
So okay, from the musicals, and then you made your way into acting.
Yeah.
Was it down here when you were like?
Yeah. So I went to college here. I went to LMU, and it was one of those things where my family wanted me to pursue something more stable. And so I tried to follow that, but I ended up like, I was an English major and then I just kept taking theater classes. And it got to the point where like my teachers were like, what are you doing? You have enough degrees to be a double degree at this point. Like just claim it. I was so afraid
just claim it
to say that I wanted to be an actress because everyone was just like, well, no one in our family had ever done that before. And I didn't know a single working actor that was one Filipino or two at all. Like I don't, I was from the Bay, so I didn't know a lot. So it was very terrifying to say. So I basically didn't claim it really until I graduated. And then it was like, all I wanted to do was that. And my family was just like, okay, if you want to pursue that, we won't help you. Like you have to figure this out on your own.
I feel that.
And that was really scary, but I was like very defiant, like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. And I did. I ended up getting a great side gig. I worked for Kaiser randomly. My family wanted me to be a nurse or a teacher, which so much respect for. That's such wonderful occupations. But I ended up getting a job with Kaiser as an actor. I taught theater. Like I did plays.
Oh, you found like the hybrid of like
I did.
I worked for the health institution parents as an actor.
Exactly. And then I've just supported myself ever since. And so that was really such a gift. And I didn't realize that you could make a living from acting. And I think like meeting so many other actors, just like making it at that time, I really opened my eyes to that.
Yeah, it brings me back to the early 10s where what was big during that time as a young girl with like Asian American actors was like on YouTube and like that like cast of people. Did you ever like overlap or run it, or is it just two separate worlds and you're like filmed
with
and like
it's so interesting. Like there was a time when I was like, I think I could have, and I just was so stuck to I was like, I wanted to be a theater actress, and then I was like, then I got to film, but you can't. It's not super feasible to make a life as a theater actress and just support yourself, even though I love theater. And so it was really, my focus was film and TV. But actually looking back, I'm like, that would have been really fun to dive into the content space. But at the time, I really just didn't. Well, I was too shy to be myself, I think. Yeah, it was easy for other people.
Yeah, it's definitely like, that's a different like acting style and culture on like the YouTube space too, from like, film, like the films and stuff. So, and like, that's the whole reason why we have you. I was like, oh no, and these things like,
but I do think it's interesting because I think like what I've learned from like content creators and like YouTube influencers really is that the power of being your authentic self, I think is so huge. It's something I had to learn as an adult. It was like the more I think I actually was more myself, like a lot of content creators are, the more I started working.
Interesting. Well, I see that because how you are right now is like also your personality in these films.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen all of it. But there's just there's obviously like, in a way you will have to play another character and be that, but it's refreshing to get almost like, oh, I see you on screen as who you are now too.
Well, that's so
that probably shows like your personality. You're like not hiding it, like you're genuine.
Well, and I think that's so like, it's full circle because when I first started, I think I was hiding a lot. I just like, I was really insecure. I wanted to be someone else. I wasn't even really talking about like being Filipino because I just wanted to mold into whatever you wanted me to be, like,
which is literally what acting kind of like,
which is it. But and then there's like two different forms of acting, right? Like I feel like you have like the method actors, like these wonderful Daniel Day Kim is a wonderful actor, but Daniel Day-Lewis also, right? Like he really isn't, he just becomes Abraham Lincoln and he doesn't break, right? So you literally become someone else. And then there's another, I feel like there's another kind of like method towards it where you find yourself in it too, and I think they're all great.
Can you tell me about your like training for acting? And it's something we talked about before on our call is, like this really like interest in human behavior and psychology.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. I didn't study it, but I know that there like that is like such a huge science behind acting too. So tell me about your training and what you really like learned and got to learn about like your own self, but like other humans and like behavioral psychology and all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, great. I got into acting because I love people, and behavioral psychology is fascinating to me. And I think what's so interesting about humans is like, no one person is the same, right? So it's like, I love connecting with people. That's like my favorite thing to do. And what makes people tick and what people love and or what they don't love or what makes them inspired. Like all that stuff has always been so interesting to me. So just in terms of like acting training, I came from like a more traditional theater background. So it was more of that kind of like become a character, become someone else. What's their moment before, or what's their family history like? It's very kind of like internal, and all that stuff is really valuable because you want to know like how someone walks in their shoes. Like I feel like no character is ever like the bad guy in their story.
Yeah.
right?
Interesting.
Which is such an interesting thing because obviously you have lots of stories where there's a bad guy and there's a good guy. And I think storytelling has really shifted now to be like, even the bad guys are really nuanced. Like the Penguin is a really interesting story of somebody who went through a lot of trauma and is a bad guy, but maybe you see them in a good light, you know, so you humanize them. And I think that's it's the multifacetedness of like of human behavior is what really is interesting to me. So anyway, I came from more of like step into the character, become someone else. What's their voice? How do they move? What's their history? To kind of more finding a blend of like what are the imaginary circumstances and making them real? But then how am I this person? So coming at it actually from more like the inside out versus the outside in.
So interesting.
Does
like
that make
combining the two? Like, where do I see myself in this also?
How would I, like, would I react in these circumstances if this was my past? So for example, like somebody who is a bully, let's just like talk from human behavioral stuff, right? If somebody was like a bully as an adult, most likely they were bullied as a child, right? Like if you go back into like a lot of history, there's reasons why people act the way they do, even if they're maybe not a nice person. You know, there's a lot of reasons, like maybe their parents weren't around. Maybe they were hit as a child. Maybe they went through like, experienced violence or experienced loss. Like there's so many reasons why people become the way that they become, right? So in terms of like the acting stuff, what I love to do is the writer writes like things into the script that are permanent, right? Like this person was born in this place and this person has this relationship with their mother and, you know, all of these things that you are like, okay, if this is real, then what else? Right. So if this is true, what else? And so if I believe that it's like happening to me, then I can organically kind of figure out how I would, like, if my parents died when I was like 2, and I was raised by my stepmother that didn't love me, the Cinderella. What, like, how would what would my
bring that emotion, you bring that experience into that, right?
Like your personal belief system, I think
is that something like any of us can take notes on, and like us, you know, if we're like non-actors and actors, just this process?
Well, that's such a good question. I think it applies to all areas of your life, right? In the terms of just how you connect with other people, even on like a surface level. Like if somebody is rude to me at work or rude to me at a bar or I'm out at a party, it's easy to go into the spiral of like what the story is. Like this person doesn't like me because of this, this, and this, or she's a bitch, or whatever it is. But then I think when you kind of come at it from like a more of a human behavior of like, maybe this person had a really hard day. Like, I remember the story of this. There was a man on the subway. I read this, and he was like had these 2 toddlers that apparently were acting badly on the subway, and the person next to him was getting upset that he wasn't taking care of his kids, right? And he finally said something because he was like, in the internal dialogue is like, what the fuck? This guy's not taking care of his children. Like, this is so inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. So he says something to the guy, right? Because the guy's comatose. And the guy in the subway basically says, I'm very sorry. I just lost my wife and I don't know what to do. So it completely shifted the perspective of the person on the subway train that was so angry at him for not being a good parent, for not taking care of his children.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So it's such an interesting perspective because I always think about how I'm the hero in someone's story and I'm the villain in someone's story, for real in real life. Like there's many people in this world being like, Nikki's a wonderful person, but in someone else's story, view my exes, I'm probably not.
Oh my gosh. Or we're like, we could just be like, the like extra side character.
The extra side characters,
like to have that like one line that like changes their life.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating. Like so many people can have these like huge impacts on your life and never know.
And never get exactly.
You know, but it's always so, I think so much of like in terms of how it can go, it's important, I think, for everyone is everyone's story is so different. And so much of it is like how you it's just perspective. It's like, how do you, and the importance of like how you relate to that person or what you take personally, what you don't. Does that make sense? But I think in terms of just like assuming goodwill for me has been very helpful. So like, even if someone is nasty or not great to me, it's really kind of just like let them, there's like, let them, and other things are going on with them that has nothing to do with me.
You're making me draw some kind of like connection to when you said that characters, like you're not assigning like bad or good in these things, and how we can also like see a stranger and maybe we'll never know their story, but we can like make up a story in our head that humanizes them.
Yes. And I think that like really helps. For me, that's really helped go through the world.
Yes.
I think that people are good. I think believing that people are
inherently
good. I think you can go either way.
Yeah.
Go either way. If you, and whatever you believe is true. I really do like believe that.
For sure. I actually think that's very necessary to just like go through and like move upwards in your life.
Yeah.
Because you need that. Like something I wrote down this morning in my journal is like, as I'm, reflecting on a few struggles I've been having, was that's not a bad person. That's not a bad person. Like everyone is kind of a teacher for you.
Yes.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just wrote down like everything is happening for you.
Girl, that has been like my mantra for the last couple of years. Yes. No. Literally everything is happening for you.
Sorry, keep going. I love that. I can show you right now. Like I highlighted it. So maybe I just like felt your telepathy.
Like along with that, it's like I've been like things that are meant for you will never miss you.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. What's for you won't miss you. Yeah. Right. And I can imagine that's really shaped and supported your own journey. So I'll say this off the bat because I want to know about your whole like acting journey and getting to these like roles and stuff. But when I was watching this, if I could be like candid, I'm over here like eating my like Christmas popcorn by myself. I'm super single.
So hot, clearly, and amazing.
So you too. She's my mom. It's super hot. Wow. Okay. Goal. I was like, wow. How did this makes me proud, first of all. And like, how did she get this lead role? I love it. Yeah, not that I ever I didn't I hope I didn't that's not to put down like your ability.
No, 100%.
But I'm like a Filipina got the lead role. I'm like, I wonder how, and I'm like, I looked at your other stuff and I was like, all the other ones too are leads. I'm like, ooh, okay, I gotta know.
I love this question.
Other than your like abilities and talents, like, just so you know,
totally. But so much of it is like, honestly, I feel talking about like everything is for you.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of ways, it's luck and faith, and I want to believe it was for me. So basically, I got that lead in A Vineyard Christmas because I got a lead in this movie called The Wedding Contest that actually came out afterwards. So that's the one that just dropped. Yeah. So, so basically I was going through a tough time. So this was 2022. I was going through a tough time because like I started acting in 2010 and it was kind of like a slow burn. And then I would work here and work there, but like, I'm not like a household name or anything, yet. And, there was a lot of help from like diversity initiatives. So I did like a CBS showcase initiative, which was so wonderful and helpful. And a lot of people who, higher ups, people who wanted to help me, which is great. Are you familiar with these initiatives at all?
Yeah, kind of.
Anyway, it's cool. A lot of networks will support new diverse talents. I was able to go through those programs and get kind of seen that way and slowly started to work. But nothing overnight huge. And I got to a point in 2022 where I was getting really close to a lot of bigger things, like to the point where, I was testing, I was getting put on a veil. It was between me and the other person. The other person would get it. It's just the competition was so fierce. And I was so down. I was so depressed. It was like, I think the fourth job in a row where they were like, sorry, so close, not going the other way, but like, thank you. Right. So then I got this audition to be the lead of this movie called The Wedding Contest. And I was going to turn it down because I was like, you know what, things are not going my way right now. At that point, I was like, do I even want to keep doing this? Like, I'm smart. I could do other things. Like what, I love this so much, but what am I doing kind of thing? And I had so many friends that had blown up and I'm so happy for them. But like, if I'm being real, I was kind of like feeling like when you're so close, it almost feels like you're further away, and you're like, what? So anyway, I was going to pass on the audition. And my husband and I we had just gotten married. We were getting on a plane to go visit his family in Philly. And it was his mom has Alzheimer's. So it was like kind of it was a tough time. So we were getting on the plane and I was like, I wasn't getting service on the plane, so I couldn't pass on it with my agent. So I was like, oh, whatever, I'll do what we planned. We got on the plane. The TV wasn't working on our flight. So from here to the East Coast, I was like, there's nothing to do. So I was like, F it, I'll read the script. Oh my God. So I read The Wedding Contest. Because when the appointment came in, I was like, there's no way in hell they're going to cast a Filipino. Why am I wasting my time? Like I'm exhausted and I'm depressed right now. Like I don't feel like it. So anyway, because my TV was broken, I had nothing else to do. I read the script. I loved it. I remember laughing out loud on the plane. I was like, and I fell in love with, I thought the character was really funny and I connected to her a lot because she was so like focused on her career, and I had a lot of like I've a lot of passion, and she was like quirky and goofy.
Yes.
I love to eat. I love food. I'm like a huge foodie, and this character was like, and I'm also a messy eater. So like my friends were always like, "There's rice in your hair." Like, oh my gosh, the random rice, like rice or food. Yeah. So, and that was all. This character was like a messy eater. He was like,
"This is written for me,
dude." It was written. It was like I felt very connected to Taylor. When we landed, I was like, I'm gonna just tape this audition because it's fun. And it lights me up, and I'm not going to try to do it just to book it. I'm not going to do it for a job. I'm doing this for myself. I like took the power back and was like, it's not about someone seeing me and hiring me. It's about me seeing myself and like just having a good time with this audition. And then I booked it, which is awesome. And so I booked that, and then basically had a blast, and that they also hired me to do the Christmas movie. So that's how that happened.
Incredible. I'm convinced, honestly, that so much of life is like that let go period of like, you know what? I'm just going to have fun with this. And this is initially something that you got into because it was fun and you enjoyed it.
Yes.
And like taking the pressure off of, like you said, getting seen. Because I feel like so many of us are consciously or subconsciously wanting to be picked.
Yes.
And, you know, like,
wanting to be picked, but then also being told not to take up too much space.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's a weird.
It's because it's like be humble, be like,
oh my gosh,
all of those things.
Totally.
Put your head down.
Yeah. Be humble, and they'll see, you know, whatever.
Work hard.
But at the same time, you have to like, you know, like aspire and fight for like and advocate for yourself for the position. And you're like, which one is it? So you said that once you just saw it as, I connect with this. I'm going to have fun with it. If I, you know, get it or not, it doesn't matter. And this is why I really appreciate the journey and experience of actors and actresses, because you're constantly going through this thing in a like rapid fire way of like what so many people, I think it's like such a metaphor in life of like going for the thing and getting rejected and just having to move on. Right? Until you finally get that, and like doing that over and over again. And I respect actors because you develop that skin for it, but like there's so much we can borrow from that. And then finally you land it, you get the role, and you exist in it for a while, and then you go back out there and do it again.
It's great. It's so true. It's interesting. The rejection of it is like it's also been my biggest teacher, but it's something that I feel like goes on all different, it translates to like everything from like dating to other jobs to like literally any job. There's rejection in everything.
Yeah.
But I've always thought I guess this is more random, but there's such a similarity between auditioning and dating.
Oh, totally.
Right. Which is wild, because if you show up to an audition being like, I need you to hire me, I need this job, thirsty and like needy.
Can they feel it?
People can. They can totally feel it. And I feel like that's also true for dating. Like if somebody shows up to your date and is like,
I want to get married.
You're probably gonna be like, oh yeah, hold on, chill.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's an interesting, like, I feel like the energetics are very similar between like auditioning and dating, or just like even the relationship with rejection, right?
Yeah.
Because if we go through life afraid of being rejected, it's a fearful place to live, and it's like it's not free, and you probably can't, like, I know I can't be my best self if I'm constantly worried about people not liking me or being rejected, right? So there's a freedom in being like, okay, like hire me or don't. I'm gonna just show up as my best self, the way I can, the best way I can.
Like your mindset for that like has become stronger. How do you strengthen your relationship to rejection?
Well, that's such a good question. I think it's something I still struggle with. If I'm being totally honest, rejection is never easy, but you get better at handling it. So I think part of it is like knowing what's meant for me will never miss me. So having a faith practice, whatever, if that's God or the universe, whatever you believe, like that strong relationship and knowing like what is meant for you will always find you. That strengthens my relationship to rejection. So if something doesn't go my way, I always say like this or something better. And you know, like, and because even if at the time the rejection sucks because you want something so bad, I think I go through it. Like I always grieve it. You have to like feel the feelings and mourn it, but then also just trusting, even if it's just like pulling it from the depths of your soul, that something better is meant for you.
Yeah. And have you ever like experienced like a really devastating rejection?
Oh my God.
And really? Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was just like oh yeah, this is like normal, so it doesn't like hit you as much. Like there was like something you really wanted, and then like there was some kind of like redemptive experience after that? Like, was
That's so interesting. God, it happens all the time.
Okay.
No, but it's redemptive. Like, because I don't want to say the projects, because the other women who got it were wonderful in those projects too. But it's things like, okay, this is actually a perfect example. The wedding contest, the movie that just dropped. Before that, I was really upset that I didn't get like this pilot that was wonderful, and the girl got it. Is amazing. Anyway, they shot the pilot, and if I had gotten the pilot, I wouldn't have been able to do this movie, and that pilot did get picked up. So it's an interesting thing of just like what's meant for you will miss you.
And sometimes in retrospection, you look back and you see, wow, that was like actually for the better
for me, right? And so, and who knows, like, and I think that's the biggest thing with rejection I've learned is that it's never the end. Like, I think it's because you didn't get that job, or you didn't date that person, or you didn't get invited to this party, whatever rejection you're feeling, that's not the end of the story.
Yeah.
I think when I first started in this industry, I was like, my life is over. I didn't book this job. Nobody wants me, and I'm a terrible person.
And make it mean all these things about you, like your worth and stuff.
Exactly. I think like taking that away, like whether you hire me or not, it does not mean I'm not worthy. It's like staying in your power and your worth and knowing like, oh no, I'm so lit. I'm okay exactly as I am right now.
This is so crazy that you're saying all this, because I had this conversation yesterday.
Tell me.
Well, like I have been kind of like pitching myself to a said person / entity for a while, and leading up to this meeting, this presentation, I was very like well prepared for, and everyone was saying, mentors and peers were like, like they love you, you're gonna, like basically like, of course it's a shoo-in. And at the end, it was just the most like jarring experience of like very much like I'm trying to like change and reframe the story around this, like, but this like pattern of like, yeah, come back to us, like we'll see, like work harder and like show your thing. And like after that feeling of like, have I not proven? And I remember like this again, like feeling the feelings after of like, wow, like I have to prove some more, I have to work some more. Like, why did they not see the value? Like, why did they not see the value when it was data backed and presented and all that stuff? Like, this is like the tech industry, by the way. And a friend had said to me, you're kind of like basing this off of their perceptions of you. But if you truly believe that there was value that you brought, like that shouldn't have changed that. Like people's perceptions of you should not change the intrinsic value that you know of yourself. Yet here is this panel of people who said, we don't see it. So it changed how I saw it. Right. So it was just like such a really like trippy, like, oh, I think we need to kind of like reassess and strengthen like your own work. Like how you see the value.
But I also don't want you to think that like you were in the wrong for being heartbroken about that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's not, because I always think like it's never like, sometimes it's not, when we think about moving forward, I constantly think, I think it's the Filipina in me. It's like, well, you got to do this, and this, and you got to like, and you got to go full, like it's 100 feet, like at full steam ahead.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
No, just because you were I think like grief and heartbreak is just associated to how much you loved it.
Yeah.
Right? And that has nothing to do with being a failure or like you are wonderful, and you cared about that, and that's okay to care about that and grieve that.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right though about like, okay, here's the feeling, here's the problem. This is how we fix it. This is how we go forward. And I feel like that is also like such a historical trauma response that Filipinos have.
Yeah,
like,
completely.
Like, I don't know.
Like, let me take care of you and everybody else. And
like there's no room to actually like allow yourself to feel it. It's okay. Yeah.
I think there's like there's something about weakness. Like even like, but it's not weak. I think it's not weak to show emotion. It's actually, there's actually power in that, because like that's going to lead to the next big thing. Right. Like, because something greater is meant for you, and it's knowing that. Yeah. And whatever that is, like, would you have done anything different in that room?
No, absolutely not.
So then that's a win.
Yeah. How do you make sure that you're always like celebrating like victories?
Oh, that's a one, it's my community. I've been really intentional about cultivating really great friends outside of work, which I think is wonderful, because when I have my wins, I have someone to celebrate with. And then when I have my losses, I have somebody to cry to.
Yeah.
And I always feel supported. Actually, like last night, a bunch of my girlfriends got together and they like watched my movie with me. And it was so sweet. Even so they were like, we are going to celebrate this win. Like, so I think it's just having people really like nurturing the relationships in your life that even if you don't feel like celebrating, you have people who like are rooting for you and want to celebrate with you.
Right.
Because I do think like so much of wins also is like not only is it important to celebrate it, but it's important to like tell that story to yourself that it is a win.
Yeah.
Like what's your spin? Because it's like everyone's win can also be spun as like a loss. Honestly, it's really how you spin it, right?
Totally.
Like I could spin it like, I'm so excited I'm in this amazing like rom-com movie that's on Amazon, or I could spend like, I haven't made a blockbuster yet, so like whatever. And so much of it is the story you tell yourself.
Exactly. And how we're like not actually counting certain things that are victories and like wins, because like it just looks like there's one type. This reminds me of like a year ago when I did like a big fundraising campaign. It was like a community crowdfund, and we didn't hit our goal completely, and that could have been publicly seen as like we didn't win it. But out of that, there was this just like emergence of new connections and new different like potential guests and investors and all that stuff. And I see like if we were just so blinded by not getting a number down versus like this was like even I would say a bigger victory, right? Like the more important one here.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's so important that we're like redefining what
success looks like.
Success even is.
Yeah.
So
because I think too, it's so interesting, like all of the things that you got out of it, even though you didn't hit that number, are going to be abundant.
Right.
You're probably already seeing where that is abundant, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all. I think that's true for all aspects of, like even with jobs I didn't get. Like you don't know who's in the room. Like on that panel yesterday, who's in the room who's going to remember you? Who like it was like Crystal was amazing. You might meet in another room, in a week, in 2 weeks, in 2 years, who knows? But like that, I feel like acting is really interesting in that sense because you never know who's talking about you in rooms you're not in, and I feel like so much. I think of La La Land. Seriously. And my goal is to always like have people talk well about us in rooms that we're not, and be rooting for you.
That's so good.
In rooms that we're not in. And if we show up as our most authentic self or our best version in any meeting, then you can kind of like
consider that a win.
Yes.
I love that because it's like your goal isn't just like, I need this role. And you're like, my goal is to like present myself in the way I'm most proud about.
Exactly.
And to touch someone's life or something.
Or
and
connect.
And you're checking those boxes and you're like, I did it.
Yeah. Pretty much. Honestly, I think that's like when I really started working more. It's like I stopped being like, I need this job. Granted, we all need to pay bills and we need health insurance and all that stuff. But as soon as it stops like needing that and trusting, like if I don't get this job, I'll figure something out. I'll pick up a waitressing table. I'll do something if I need to because I'm resilient and I'm smart. But it's just like, you know what I mean? But letting go of the outcome, I think that's what it is. It's like letting go of outcome and just showing up so that like I'm so proud of like who I was in that room. And this is fun.
Yeah. You're making me think like it's a good exercise, I think, to write down like no matter what, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up?
Yes.
How do you want to impact people? And as long as you're carrying that and doing that, you're doing what you need to do.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Even intentionally, like I want to show up today and I want to like listen and I want to like have a good conversation and get to meet someone. Like that stuff really does. Being intentional is wild how that really matters. Just like writing down how you want your day to go or how you want to be.
Right. Exactly.
Because we can't control what happens to us, but you can control like how we react to it.
Yeah.
Right?
And your intention.
Yeah, totally.
So good.
Because I think too, when you're showing up, like there's a quote I love that's when there's like when you feel love, you can't feel fear. It goes, and so it's like there's no room for fear when you feel love. And that goes, I think, with any kind of rejection. Like if I'm just constantly worried that you're fearing, like, I hope Crystal likes me. I hope Crystal hires me or whatever. Like I can't operate not only as my best self, but if I'm just like feeling love, like this is a really awesome person and I want to just like get to know you and connect and coming from a place of love, like there's literally no room for fear.
Right. Oh, that's really true. But how do you insert, like, let's say somebody is like, I hear that, but I work in this very like aggressive environment or industry where it's very like black and white, and it's not like I can like come in and being like, like, or that it is a more like formal and just like a sterile kind of like environment and energy. How would you bring in love in that?
Oh my gosh. I think, well, I would bring in, first of all, just kindness in your interaction, you know? So even if it's very sterile, I think going back to like voice and like even just being kind in your voice, or when somebody is coming from a place of love, you don't have to like be like, you can just feel it. Like, and for me, I guess, my subconscious thoughts are kind of like saying, I love you. And so that sounds, it's very woo-woo and pretty woo-woo, but I think that is something that just like coming in with like the vibration of like love, you know, so that you can still, you still do business as usual as you're supposed to. But I think like operating from a place of, knowing that people are coming, operating at their best. No, how do I want to say this? Goodwill, assuming goodwill.
Assuming goodwill, I'll give you your key. Come on. No, this will be great for the. Say hi.
Oh, hey.
This is Nikki.
Hi,
Darlene.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Good to have you guys.
Also be nice.
Gorgeous. But yeah, I think operating from a place of assuming goodwill in that kind of environment will change the interaction.
I feel like the theme of this episode / you is like assuming the best of people, right? Best good intentions. And maybe you're wrong, but it does shape your own experience.
It completely
in
does.
your journey. And that's what matters most, right?
Because I think two people can have the very same day and have a completely different reaction to it. You know, because I think too, if you assume goodwill, most of the time, people will meet you where you're at.
Right. So true.
Because don't you think like people are mirrors? A lot of times people are mirrors of you.
I mean, like even practicing, let's say like I assume the person on the panel hated me, has never liked me, has, you know, like, and then all of a sudden because of confirmation bias, the way they talk to you, you're going to read that and then you respond to them in this like antagonistic way too. And then it just manifests.
Of course.
And so then like you reverse that and you're like, they love me. We get along so well. We're on the same page all the time.
Right.
And then right. Goes there and I mean, call it like the Delulu, right?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that's kind of like works for you?
Yeah, that's totally worked for me before. Or just even being like, okay, well, not my person.
Yeah.
Like because I do think you attract what you are, and you like vibes will always catch vibes, right? So if someone isn't meshing well with me, it's because
we're just not.
We're different.
Yeah,
too different.
Yep. Except true.
You know, and
Isn't that so weird how that happens? Like,
isn't that like crazy?
Meet someone and be like, I don't know what it is. We're just not.
We're just not
I'm gonna try,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
you know. And there have been times where I've met people and I'm like, we're just not meshing. This person doesn't like me. And then I've had conversations with them years later, and I'm like, oh, you're socially awkward. And you're not making eye contact, not because you don't like me, but because you're anxious.
I have to remember and be empathetic, right?
No, I forget all the time too, because I'm pretty like what you see is what you get. I'm sure you are too.
And like, you seem like you just like I could get a hug from you. Or
totally the same. But I think that's the thing of like just remember, like people come from such different walks of life. And at the moment I stopped taking things personally, because I used to take everything very personally.
Yeah, and then shape-shifting also yourself to meet where the person's at.
Yeah,
if we do that, we can like be such chameleons sometimes.
Well, because I think Filipinos are so good at assimilating. We are fantastic at it.
Yeah, we are the master code switchers.
We really are. We really are. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but because we've been such wonderful code switchers and we've assimilated, at least I'll talk about, has assimilated so well into American culture. I'm thirsty for more of my Filipinaness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. Thirsty. I mean, that really describes a lot of our audience. And audience really.
It's an interesting thing because it's like I'm so proud to be American, but I'm also really proud to be Filipino. They don't need to be separate.
Exactly.
You know?
And I always like describe like it's not one or the other. There's not one way to be Filipino. There's no such thing as a perfect Filipino. Like we are such a multifaceted identity and like walk. And so the way that you embrace it and show it to the world is the unique and special. Something we get a lot at FOTR is like that I see also with like other brands struggling with is like that's not like authentic, or you know, like you should be showing more of this and less of that. As if there's one
authentic?
Yeah. Or one, it's as if we're like a monolithic group, but we're not, right?
We're literally so multifaceted.
Right.
I'm sure you're different, like in terms of your blood. Like we might have different I might have Spanish, I might have Chinese. Like we're so mixed.
Exactly. And then don't even get me started if you're like Filipino-American from like California versus like New York. And like, no, truly every city, because we do events at different cities, there's a different breed.
I'm sure. NorCal, SoCal too is like.
Yes. Same state, night and day. Yeah. How would you describe the difference?
But that's so funny. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Like,
you came from both, so you're allowed to answer
both. What's funny, because my adult life was all in LA.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I don't know the Bay as well, but I will say,
be careful.
The different. Well, I've been really searching for more like Filipino community, honestly, and I've started to find it in LA. I'm part of Barkada, which is a wonderful group that's mostly Filipino actors and creators that are together. So that was really great to find that. But I felt like it's interesting, in the Bay, my relationship with Filipinos was more like we just kind of stuck together. Where in SoCal, it seems like Filipinos are so mixed into different, it's a lot more, it feels a little more multicultural in LA, and I don't quite know why. Yeah. I don't know if you feel that way too. No, it's a little more mixed. Yeah. I mean, LA is just bigger in general. And like there's this like concentration in the Bay. Okay. Yeah. Like where you kind of stick with your crew. Yeah. Where like here I have so many friends of many different ethnicities. Right. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I see that. You're such a SoCal girly though. Like, I mean, yeah, you're like, there's a different like energy also. It's funny because when I lived in Miami, people knew immediately that I came from SoCal. Because you were warm. Yeah, and it's like the like the Valley girlness. Yeah, it's a thing. I didn't think it was a thing until in the East Coast too, people will be like, "You're not from here." No, I am really not. Sometimes I wish I could be one of those like direct like New York girlies, but I'm like, I just can't. I start giggling. I know. I want to be more direct. It's actually something I'm like, step into your womanhood, step into your power. Oh my gosh, right. You know. Oh man. But I do think it's like there's I like making people feel comfortable and having a good time. Yeah. No, it's to me, I used to like try to mitigate it, but now I'm just like, no, like the world needs more of that. So thank you. Especially right now. Exactly. Needs a lot more like absolutely. So I have a question that I've been dying to ask. Yeah. And for listeners, if you check out, Nikki's movies, and it's so great to see you in these like lead roles and these like romantic like interests and relationships, and kind of being that girl to the lead guy, right? Yeah. And just it's so interesting because I see this across most films of like now that there is like biracial couples and leads, and also the pattern of like being with like a white male lead, right? And I know that your husband is white/white passing. I've mostly dated white men. Like, I'm not like attacking this at all. No, I'm saying like one is better than the other, or like being superior about it. But like it's such a complex. Yeah. Right? That it's just very interesting to see that like at times I've seen like uplifted of like in our community, like, oh, like being with a white man is like, wow, they get applauded and stuff. And then also seeing it portrayed in like media of like, the women of color being with a white man. And it's just it's a topic that I want to break the taboo on, and that it'd be interesting to learn of your either like observations or just insights regarding casting around, interracial couples in Hollywood, in film. And do you see some kind of like factor there, or like a pattern there of like a love story being centered around like where one has to be like a white person? Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, there's a pattern. It seems of if you're casting a diverse lead, the opposite person is white. Unless you're, I think the only time I've ever seen where that's not the case, if it's like a Black love story and then the two leads are Black, right? Right. But otherwise, it seems like in a lot of these mediums, if you're casting a diverse lead, the other person is white. And I think, is it implicit? Is it explicit? Like, is it in the script? Are they like, I'm just so curious. Question. Like, are they like behind closed doors, like, don't tell anyone, but we need to make this other person definitely white because we just casted a brown person, or like, I don't know. It's so funny. I have some producer friends that had, I don't know if this is still the case, but apparently there's like a code for wanting a like a mixed race couple, and they'll say like they want it to be more democratic. Interesting. Oh gosh. Way to put it, but so you serve all audiences. Right. We know what you mean. It's interesting. So usually I will say the scripts are, can be very specific. So it's like this person is white and this person's Filipino or this person's whatever. It can be very specific with ethnicity. And sometimes it's not specific at all. Like, for example, a Vineyard Christmas was written for a white girl, but they changed it for me. Yeah. Which is it was the biggest blessing. And the writer, Katie, was wonderful. And
so
it blew out. Except for that never happened to me in my life. Like literally the writer, the production company, they were like, we're going to make this Filipina for you because we love you. And so that's so much. They put Tagalog in all of that. They changed my name for me. Like they made it a Filipina name. So this
is such a win.
It was a huge win. It was a huge win.
Like, I don't think I've ever heard that. Like, this was written for a white girl, but we decided to make it Filipino because we love you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were like interested in more diverse leads, which is, so it's change is happening. It's just slow. It's a little slow. You know what I mean? But like the fact that this like Real One was super down to hire a Filipina girl, because like the first movie they cast me in was also written for a white girl. Like it wasn't a specifically Filipina
I feel like we're like onto something here. Like this is rare. This just doesn't happen. And so like what is the takeaway here? Like what would you like advise? You're like, hey, this somehow keeps happening to you.
What would I advise? Gosh, I think going back to that, we can control how we show up in the room. We can't control what happens to us. So when I worked on the first movie, on the wedding contest, I just was very intentional about showing up kind, happy to be there, connected to people. I knew everyone's name on set. I knew like from the grips to the PAs to the producers. So I just like and I was also, I really did. I love what I do. So I think that reads in the room. So when I left, the things that people were saying about me in rooms were very nice. Right. So I think all that stuff happens, like big things happen on such small levels. It's interesting because I got that job like 6 months later after I wrapped the last movie.
Wow.
And so much of that was just like based on my actual, like the small connections I had one-on-one on a day-to-day with that company. So I think that like just trusting that if you show up as your best self, good things happen.
That's so good.
Is like huge.
Right. And I love to hear that because we can question that. Is it even worth it to try to warm and joyful and like friendly and connect? And I think it goes such a long way. It also shows like people just want to work with other people they want to be around.
Absolutely. And I think that's true across all media. Yes. Right. Yeah. Like you want to be around people that you enjoy
working with.
You enjoy working, who make you feel peaceful or joyful or all that stuff is. And I think too, it's like coming from a genuine place of like, I want to know who you are. It's not like from a place of I need you to like it. It's not like a social climbing thing. It's like a genuine, no, I'm
genuinely want to,
I want to have a conversation.
Exactly. That goes back to the whole, like, the intention of like, hey, as long as I'm here, I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to show up as person I'm proud of. I'm going to have fun in the process. Like that goes so many places. Right?
It goes so many places. I think it really, people will always, they might not remember you, but they remember how you made them feel. And I think that is so, my Lola taught me that. Like there's so much about that that's so true. So if you operate with like heart.
Right. That's our superpower that I feel like we need to embrace as Filipinos because we are such feelers.
Yes.
Emotions. And just like that could be actually like one of our greatest superpowers.
Yeah. I think that's why hospitality is in our blood. Even like as we're constantly taking care of people always. Like I feel like a Filipina is in the room because they're like
caretaking,
gregarious and caretaking and like making sure people are okay. That is our superpower. I think didn't people name us one of the happiest cultures?
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I know that like irony in itself, right? Of like everything that we've gone through historically and generations wise and all that, like oppression and trauma, like to be the joy. Oh yeah. This like reminds me of like my friends in the Bay. They're like, you can always tell they're Filipino from like other Asians, right? And I was like, how? And he's like, I don't know, Filipinos, they just have that sparkle in their eye. I love it.
Yes, we do.
It's so true. They're like, they just always have this sparkle.
I think like there is so much, because there is so much fun in our culture.
I know. Right? Yeah, we just want to laugh and like.
Exactly. Even when things are hard. I feel like that's when things are tough. Like you're taught to just.
Yeah. And it's infectious, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
So back to the topic. Because it kind of, it all relates though of like do you see that there is kind of like a change happening? I remember we talked earlier.
Yeah.
And you said something that I've been like thinking about. You said, films aren't ready for to.
Well, I feel like they are. Well,
we are.
Yeah. But so, yeah, it feels like
I know what you mean, though.
They're dipping their toe. They're starting to be cool with like a multi like cultural cast. So maybe like a diverse lead opposite a white person. But it does feel like I don't know if investors are ready to see like two Filipino leads.
Right. It's such a business.
And I want that to be I want that the world needs two Filipino leads.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, two leads, Asian American, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Where the story isn't centered about being Asian.
100%.
It's just like like it's just a thing. It's just
right. I think like exactly. That's why I think it's important to just be seen.
Yeah,
because it's important to like rep. I'm Filipino and
like Crazy Rich Asians. Obviously, like it had like we are Asian.
Yeah,
but like what about just like it's a part of it, but not like the whole story.
And that was an interesting thing too, because I think like when Crazy Rich Asians happened, and Nico Sanchez was amazing.
Yeah, so amazing.
So funny. That was an interesting thing where like I remember feeling I was like a little bummed because I was like, oh, there isn't a ton of stories that are like with a whole Filipino cast. Like I wasn't allowed to audition for Crazy Rich Asians because I'm not Chinese, which that makes sense. I'm not Chinese, but I think it was like all this opportunity for a lot of Asians, but within just a very specific Asian group. Right now, it's very hot to be Korean. There's amazing Korean shows, and that's wonderful, But there's just less people writing our stories right now, and I think that's starting to shift.
Yeah. So true though, with it's like the trends.
Right? Yeah, what's trendy
like, right now?
Are you a trendy Asian? Are you
right? Like because we can only take what for this like community right now.
Exactly.
And then maybe we'll come back.
Yeah. But I really hope like once I think that'll shift. Like if more different movie producers, they get different investors that are interested and like more diverse leads, that's amazing. We need more. So come on, guys, But I think the movie business is really interesting right now, and it's hurting a lot after the strikes. It's a money-making business too. So much of it is like, who are your followers and who's the audience? And a lot of these Hallmark movies tend to be cater to more of a white audience, or that's who they think they're catering more to. I mean, my mom loves Hallmark movies.
Okay. That part right there. It's who they think they need to cater to. And they don't realize there's a whole like watching demographic. That, I mean, if we're really calling like it is a business, we are increasing population now, and everything should be about like, you can make money from us.
Right. Right.
But like, hopefully there is becoming this like realization of like, there's like this the other demographics that it's important we start playing to, and it's important their voices are here.
And I think it starts from the top down, right? So the fact that like there are studio execs that are starting to be like, okay, great, we'll invest in a Filipina lead, that's amazing, and then they're and right now they're casting a white person opposite me. But at some point, hopefully that will shift to be like, who's the best person for this part? And it's an interesting thing to fight for like representation.
Can I ask you an honest question?
Yeah.
Is there anything you are really like just frustrated about that feels like it's like so institutionalized, or just like, I don't know, like, and how do you stay hopeful? And also like, what are some really like cool solutions happening, or like creative other like directions that the industry is going?
I think what's frustrating right now about the industry is there's less content being made. A lot of the studios suffered a lot because of the strikes, but the strikes needed to happen because that was really important for SAG. So it's just an interesting thing where there's just it's frustrating that there's less parts right now, and some huge stars are doing film TV now, which is wonderful, but there's kind of less there's just the competition is extremely fierce right now. It's tough because it's like you have Julia Roberts doing TV, and you have these A-list actors. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is doing a television show right now, like, so that's awesome. But it's interesting because it's like, I think if I'm being totally honest, it's just a little bit about less opportunity. So it's making the best of the opportunities you do get. So we're like, when huge celebrities were doing movies, and then there were like actors that were like TV stars. Now the movie stars are also TV stars.
Goodness, yeah.
Everything is
and also now actors are on Broadway and musicals.
Totally. So like the actors that maybe like were series regulars or maybe doing guest stars now
Oh my god,
it's a wild thing. And so I think that, and it's also frustrating that there aren't as many just stories that are written specifically Filipino. Like I am booking parts that usually are not, they're just they're open ethnicity.
I feel like your like tactic now is just to get in those parts and for them to be writing the roles for you.
Literally, honestly.
That is so badass. Honestly.
Well, it's just like, you know, I think
who are you?
Well, the thing is like with the competition aspect of it, so much of me was able to let that go. Because there is a lot of ingrained competition, I think, in our culture of just just reframing it to be like, no, there's room at the table for everyone and no one can do Nikki. So as long as I can just do me in every room, then I can walk out with my head held high because I'm not trying to be somebody else.
I love that. I'm like going to borrow them like, do Crystal.
Do Crystal. No one else can do Crystal. Yeah. And there is a light, that sparkle, like will never go away if you're if you're yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like love how the flip of this is so empowering because it's like, not only are you like, hope to get the role, like you'll get it, but like, they'll rewrite it for me.
Yeah, exactly. They'll rewrite it for me, or someone else will. Like
such a new playing field. Like that's a new wow.
Or like even the cast director who hired me on the wedding contest for these movies had seen me for years before I ever booked with her. So that's where it's so funny because it's like I'd had so much rejection, and then I ended up getting this part. And sometimes you're thinking like, does anyone even care? Yeah, I don't even remember. And she was like, no, I totally remember you. I remember seeing your audition tapes, and you're great. You know.
So good.
But that was like, 7-8 years later.
Right.
Everything matters. It's like you sometimes I think for so long I was like, my life's going to change when I book this show. And it's like, and I've booked things and my life didn't change. And but it changes maybe like, it's not this huge leap forward. It's a bunch of like small steps. And sometimes 2 steps back.
Planted.
Right? Yeah. Sometimes you take 2 steps back and 3 steps forward, but it's not this like leap.
Absolutely. And I know what you mean. You're like, and I get this. It's going to change everything. And that doesn't happen, but you don't realize that interaction you made, that person that got your name, that like person who saw you might think of a thing later down the road, and like all these seeds being planted around us that we don't even realize.
Right.
And I totally get it. I think like my life has started to feel better when I took away the fantasy of like that overnight
same,
right?
Same,
like
same.
Just like, okay, cool. If it happens for some people, maybe like 1% of the population.
Yeah.
And like we kind of glamorize that, right? Sure. Like this happened and then boom.
Yeah.
But like, like it's like putting where does that even come from, right? This fantasy of like, oh, when I get this, then it's all gonna change, And like I've started to make peace with that and just enjoy, like there's such a beauty in this slow growth process.
Mm-hmm.
And
this really is the journey.
Yeah. And like, do you even want that like huge, I mean, when it happens for some people, it's such like a cool, I don't know, we like sentimentalize it and stuff. But I heard this one quote, it's like, the overnight successes took 10 years or so.
100%. And I also think like wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
So if you don't get your heart right and your mind right, if it's not aligned,
so real.
When that fame comes, when that success comes, are you ready? Like, you're still going to be in the same place. If you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy then.
So true. Yeah.
Like, what is that rejection?
You're not
protection?
So true. Yeah. I mean, the amount of things I'm like looking back, I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't get that because I don't think I was mature enough.
I think I might have been doing drugs and been crazy. I might have had a moment.
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't ready.
Because like back then, my motives were very different. I would have been drunk and off.
Same. I think same. Wow. I think I was chasing like parties and fun. I wasn't ready. There's no way.
Yeah.
I think you appreciate more now.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say the next thing comes, it's not going to take over your whole identity and fulfillment. And it's like, you seem so happy now. And like, you seem worthy now. And like life, your private life, your personal life is just giving you so much that these just become like, great, cherry on top,
Yeah. And but there's still days for sure where I'm like, the other day, I was like, am I ever going to work again? And my husband was like, yes, you will. But it's that constant roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I think it's just having the tools to get back on the horse and be like, okay, things are going to work out is like the huge meditation's been huge for me with that. Like it, you know,
everything is hitting right now, by the way. All the things I'm like, it's speaking into my like personal private life. So the sign, but I'm taking it all in. Thank you. What are you like, if there's something that's so ideal and it's just your like most ideal film or project that you get to work on, what is it?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I love comedy, so I would love to do like something like an Abbott Elementary or like just something. I just want to have a good time, show up to set every day, get to go home and have dinner with my family, and like enjoy the people I work with and get to make people laugh. So, like something I did this pilot presentation, which I'm super stoked about. And this woman actually wrote a part about a Filipino healthcare, like she's a caretaker in it. It's really, it's like something like that where I get to represent our culture and get to do it every day would be a blast. A Marvel movie. I love those. I love those.
The first Filipino superhero. I called it right here.
I mean, right?
When I said to Alyssa Raphael, I don't know if you know, she was on the podcast, and then I was like, we're calling it. You're going to be the next Filipino Disney.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm at like right here. You heard it now. And we called it and it happened. So we're calling it first Filipino Marvel superhero.
Yeah.
Magic of the podcast. Okay. You know? No, that'd be so exciting.
Oh my gosh. What would be
your like superpower?
Oh my gosh. What would make superpower? I want to fly, but I know that's already taken. But hey, why not?
Like, yeah, flying and that's it.
Like I love those. The Loki series. Like it's so good. Like all that stuff. I think there's something fun about being like a strong supernatural.
I cried during Wonder Woman.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah,
they're fantastic. Also, like a love story, like a blockbuster love story would be fun. But like a Silver Linings Playbook kind of situation. It's like funny, you know.
Who would be your ideal like co-star?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. Who do my ideal co-star?
Like if I had like right now, I'm like Nikki. We're gonna.
I mean, Glenn Powell. So I really like him right now. I think he's great. I think he's funny. Did you see Hitman?
No.
Great movie.
Okay. I'm starting to see your like genre in your type. Very great.
Who would you have thought? Or who would you want for yourself?
What I would thought for you, I have to be able to say definitely like a opposite like comedian.
I mean, I do think. Oh yeah. I mean, God, there's Henry Golding. I think is so handsome. That would be fun too. I mean, there's. I don't know. I would do it.
I don't know. I wanted to say like Channing Tatum.
Oh yeah, he would be wonderful.
For me, I love. I love Tom Hanks. And just to be in his presence would be great.
Anyway, such a wonderful actor. So for your question about like what is changing, that's interesting. Is people are making indie projects now, which I think is really cool, and pitching that to studios to try to get them to buy. So that's kind of
love interesting way. That's kind of like my go-to.
Same. So I think it's like putting the power back in like smaller creators.
Yeah.
So that's exciting right now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm starting to see this, like they've always been there, but like even more like this rise for like the independent films.
Yeah. I mean, A24 is making,
I mean, gosh, they
changed. I mean, I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. Such a wonderful movie.
That is like so empowering to see.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have to depend on like the big
film
like machine and
right.
stuff for these.
So I think that's the exciting part about it. That's the spin. How's the spin on this time right now? Is that like, okay, so if you have a story you want to tell, like this is the time. Like if you can get it, you're funded yourself. Like it's an exciting time to like sell projects.
I'll have to ask you another time, just like the whole business behind the buying, the selling, because this one, I actually went to the Cannes Film Festival once.
Oh, amazing.
And I got to be behind the scenes and watch, it was like a friend that I had who's doing like the media, like buying, selling process and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is what happens. Interesting. Like, Anyway, super interesting. But I also maybe like to wrap up on this last topic, because a lot of our audience members are mothers or mothers to be. And so you just have a new baby. I'm talking like about like as a new car.
It's kind of, I mean, it's just as
you can tell I'm not a mom and I'm super single in so many ways. You just had a new baby. I'm like, where did you get it from? So funny. Oh gosh. I love it. You have a son. He's 10 months old.
Yeah.
And how is being a mother?
Oh my gosh, being a mother is awesome.
Juggling your career and everything.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done and the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I really love him so much. Yeah. It's an interesting thing because I think becoming a mother has made me really think about like how you want to parent and like all of my inner child stuff has like come up and like healing my own trauma with certain things. Like you're so much more aware of like what you want to do differently. And also what you want to do the same, similar to what, similar to how you grew up.
You feel more responsible.
Totally. So responsible. And I think too, because like, I grew up with a single mom and she was an immigrant, so she worked her butt off and she was an amazing mom. And so it's an interesting thing. Like I always feel like we've talked about how like she was in survival mode for so much of her life. She gave me, like, I have the gift of being kind of in an abundance place because she sacrificed so much. Like I'm in a place where I can do something that I love and I'm not worried, where she was worried about feeding our family and like surviving and making things work.
4 siblings, right?
Well, 4, yes. Yeah. But one sister I grew up with.
Okay.
On her side, so it's an interesting thing to be like, I have the luxury of pursuing my dream and like, because of everything she sacrificed here. And it's just an awareness of, I don't know how, I have so much respect.
I don't know how they do.
Single parents. I have a wonderful partner and it's still hard. But yeah, juggling work with a baby is tough, but I'm figuring it out.
Yeah. And you look awesome doing it, right? Like fabulous. Also, if you're listening to this, you need to check out the outfit on the video. So yeah. And I'm sure that there is this like more like intention now to pass down cultural things.
Yes, absolutely.
Filipino and proud.
We so like proud of, like, I'm trying to say mahal like more Tagalog, and just like owning his heritage. Like I want him, to do that. Like, so I think I have so much respect for like how our family has evolved. Right? Like, so my mom, just got remarried at 62. Gosh, it's really interesting. And she's like in love, girl. And she's never been in love before. Like we had this full conversation about this, which is wild because she had other priorities, right? In terms of like taking care of her family and like, I think that's a whole other thing. But it's interesting to be like, I have the blessing of being able to choose love for marriage. Milo will have that. I want Milo to have that opportunity too, like that kind of like abundance mindset.
Yeah. Also that your mom gets this like whole new chapter in her story and a love story at that age.
It was like wild when she was like, now I get to live my life for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I was like,
I know. I feel like so many
60s?
Right.
So
wow.
Like,
it's just like it's so like it reminds me that our life can just start again.
Yes.
And like for our parents who worked so hard and sacrificed so much, they have the ability to live their life for themselves.
And it's so beautiful. That's the thing. It's like not over, right? It's like it's never over. It's like just because if this job doesn't work out, I think it's not over. That's something like in 6 months we'll have a conversation. Be like, thank God this thing led to this thing.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing about. I'm like, she ended up meeting another immigrant actually, which is like awesome. He's German. He's also white, but she finally is like living for herself, and that's so wild to be like in your 60s able to like operate from a place of like self-care. I think she was told, don't be selfish. Like she was constantly taking care of everyone. And so that's like awesome because I took that for granted. I was like, no, if I get married, I'm marrying for love. Like there's no other reason.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been like the standard for so many people.
It's been like economic. Yeah, for sure. And that is again like all the themes tying to it. The hope, the beginning again. It's not over,
and it's okay to be. It's like interesting because I think our culture has a lot of selfish. Like, don't be selfish. Is the thing.
Yeah,
and I feel like one thing I've learned, especially now as a mother, it's like it's not self-care. It's not selfish. Like so it's like whatever you need to do, whatever I need to do to like get aligned. I can't help people unless my gas tank's full. Whatever that is. Like if that's you need a facial that day and that's what you need to take care of yourself, or girls' night out, or just a moment of silence, like whatever that is, to really honor that.
Right. And like again, like you have a child.
Yeah.
They get to observe mom putting herself first and being happy.
Yes.
And
exactly.
that affects the family.
Oh my gosh. So, I want Milo to like learn that you can pursue what you love. Because I growing up, I didn't necessarily have that. It was like you work to survive.
And these 3 professions.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see how he turns out because like whatever he pursues, I want whatever that is. I just want him to love it and pursue it wholeheartedly. What is that like when your programming is that, because so much of it is like, what are our limiting beliefs and what do you believe you can do? All of that, like, is true.
So much I'm convinced all of life is self-belief.
It's so crazy. I agree.
Yeah.
It's like what you believe is literally true.
And it manifests around you in one way or another, whether it's like in the moment or it planted a seed.
Yes.
And you're like, I saw Nikki, I really want her for this role. And like that, comes out later, but you had the belief to be in the room in the first place. So I have a really good closing question, and it's usually directed to listeners, but let's say a listener is kind of going through something right now where they are facing what feels like repeated no's or rejections or not being seen, and just not even like lacking kind of like low fuel in the self-belief. And they're kind of at that point of like what we said in the beginning, you're so close, you don't get it, and then it makes you feel so far. And at that point where everything feels like you just barely, like you're almost there, but it's almost in your reach and you don't get it, what do you say to that person in that time?
The first thing I would say is, what's the story you're telling yourself? Reframe that story to make yourself feel good. Like be the hero in your own story. Whatever rejection or whatever's bringing you down, reframing that to be like, okay, then this person wasn't the right person for me. This job wasn't the right job for me. Reframing it to be like, the right thing is going to find me, whatever that thing is that you're wanting.
Yeah.
And I would also say, become what you want. Like, if I want to be successful and be confident, and I think you can't want something outside to make you feel those things. So whatever makes you feel those things internally, do that. So if that's painting, if painting like lights you up, follow what lights you up and brings you joy, so that you can get like more aligned with yourself again. Because it's not about the outcome. It's I think it's healing yourself. It's getting back to exactly who you are. And I think at the very simplest, what is fun for you and what brings you joy, and do that.
What brings you the sparkle?
I love that. Yes. Get to your sparkle. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, man.
Because you will find your groove. If you start doing what you love, it's inevitable. It's like love and fear can't live in the same place. So if you're having a good time, it's, and then I think the faith that it's going to work out, even if it doesn't feel, it's not what you want. It's this or something better.
Yeah. So good. Nikki, thank you so much. This has been such a great discussion. As you were talking and you were talking about the light and sparkle that the sun shone on you. So and it's just like so perfect. You bring such a joy and a sparkle into your work and just in person and into the industry. And I can't wait for the continued like roles and the representation that you'll put out there for all of us. It inspires me, our watchers, to make us so proud to see you in these lead roles. And I claim the Marvel superhero.
She wants an Oscar. She wants it all. Okay.
I'm just sitting there and be like, it's part of that moment. No, but for you. I mean,
yes, absolutely.
And and just like, I just really admire this story because it reminds and reinforces for me that it is enough to just go in the room and be your full self. That it is powerful to be your joyful and truly like genuine connecting person, that it goes so many places, and I can't wait to practice that and see you go above and beyond. So.
Thank you. I love you. This was so fun.
This was so fun.